Good afternoon, everybody. This one's not so much a rant or a big complaint. It's one of those funny things in the world you don't see anymore. I got this beauty of a neighbor. I think he turned 80 last year, and he had knee or hip surgery or something like that anyhow. And so I was like, hey, what can I help with? What can I do? And he's like, nothing. Very nicely told me that, just fuck right off. And so it snows the other day. Go out, do several houses down because it was that nice light stuff. So you could just do a quick rip, and then you get credit for shoveling your neighbor's snow, and then they feel obligated when it's the heavier stuff that's difficult, right? So anyways, his was one of the ones I did. And then this morning, snows again, and that guy was probably up at like 3 in the damn morning to make sure that no one got to that snow in front of his house before he was the guy who snowed it or shoveled it. He's it's just interesting that work ethic that, as much as he probably appreciates, someone's looking out for me, someone's thinking of me, he's like, this is my damn snow and I'm gonna goddamn shovel it myself.
Couldn't we use a little bit more of that man in the world?
Oh yeah, we definitely need more of that man in the world. 100%.
He probably identifies as something else, but you never know, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. It's he probably just look at it and be like, you mean like just living?
Yeah,
I don't know what's so interesting about this. This is just what we do.
Yeah, we get up, we shovel the snow, and don't touch my snow. That's my job. I tell you, I can.
Yeah, every time I've ever shoveled his walk, the next time it snows, he'll be up there like getting up at midnight, like he's gonna go to the Lord of the Rings showing with Sean or something like that, just to be that guy who does it before anybody else can do it.
Mashup 95 coming at you from a interesting time. 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday. Obviously,
we got Daryl with us. What's up, Daryl?
Yeah, what's up, Daryl? Appreciate everybody hopping along for this Sunday afternoon. Obviously, it'll air on Tuesday as well. But with this guy going on holidays, Tuesday's working around my messy schedule. So here we are,
which
Sunday afternoon
coincides with my messy schedule as well. So we're figuring it out.
This week has been a little bit messy. I will agree with you on that. Mashup 95 brought to you by AMC Electrical. Yeah, that's Drew.
Drew out of Rocky Mountain House. And you'll recall, as of a couple weeks ago, he asked us to just change the prompt a little bit. And so he said something like, AMC isn't just an oil and gas service company. They also specialize in commercial and agricultural, whether you're building a new shop, need to upgrade your business to LED lighting, or need a grain dryer installed, give us a call. Use your imagination, LOL. So this is the guy he moved from small town Saskatchewan out to Rocky Mountain House at the foot of the mountains and built himself a company and an empire that he can be proud of. This guy invented lightsabers. George Lucas went to him for the first Star Wars movie and said, I want as many practical effects as I can because computer stuff hasn't been invented yet. And then Drew's like, yeah, I'm going to get around to inventing that in a few years. I'm busy with other things. And so he got Drew to make him the world's first functional lightsaber. And that's what Obi-Wan used to fight Darth Vader. And so, and it just kind of went off from there. I mean, this is the guy who powers the Mars rover. That Mars rover that's, until it got stuck, but that wasn't him. He didn't design it. He's just the guy that powers it. If you need something electrical done, this is your dude.
AMCelectrical.ca to find Drew McKay. And if you ever want to see how creative an ad read can get, just tell Twos to use his imagination. It's Drew McKay at AMC Electrical, the man who perfected the lightsaber. That's where, and the Mars rover. That's what we're going with here today.
He can work close to home. He'll travel a little bit if you happen to be in a galaxy far, far away.
I tell you what, Daryl just, hey, bang on. He just turned off Jesperson to tune into something real, isn't?
Man, I purposely, I don't know, you might take umbrage with this, but I made the creative decision that I wasn't interested in talking about the Jesperson interview with Trudeau. There's just not enough authenticity in there to make it something I'm interested in talking about on either side of that discussion. And so I was like, yeah, I'm just going to leave that off. And I'm good with this being the only time we ever talk about Jesperson.
How about we hop to the Coots too? Then they've now been locked up for 742 days. Obviously, at the time of this recording, folks, it goes up. The clock is a ticking. That's Chris Carbert and Tony Olenek still in.
Actually, it'll be 741. I did the math I added 7 days to last week, so it's 741 days.
This is what I'm going to do. As we sit here, I'm going to pull up the clock so I can show you what they're at.
All right, and here's Daryl. All Jesperson did was lob softball questions and catch farts for the Prime Minister. Yeah, go figure. That's exactly why he did it. That's why he got chosen for it. 742 days, 14 hours, 6 minutes, and 31 seconds.
There you go. So, 742 days at the time of this recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do we want to start? We want to start with the...
I did a... Oh, wait. Sorry, just had issue with my computer. We were supposed to have a guest, and he's having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Okay, so we'll skip the first two headlines, and if he comes in, we'll bring it back. Otherwise, we'll do them at the end. How's that? We're waiting on a guest, folks, to talk about some of the Calgary petitions. But I tell you what, let's get started. And if he can get in, we'll have him in, and if not, we'll keep on rolling. How's that?
I like that.
Okay. And then I forgot what the third headline was. Good evening, cowards. Is the third headline? Oh man. Okay. So I don't know if anyone saw this video of the grandpa at the school board meeting where he says fat ugly woman, and they all go and then he goes,
they all know he's talking about them.
Then there's a guy in the background that goes, that's not free speech, that's just insulting.
It could be both.
It can be both. It can be
anyway,
both.
It's good to see some of the school boards actually getting some real pushback. There's some stuff in BC that it didn't really play well in terms of the flow of the show, but it was noteworthy how there was school boards that as soon as they were getting people pushing back, they turned all the lights off, played a whole bunch of music, and just got up and left rather than actually listen to the people that they're supposed to represent and their concerns. They're like, nope, fuck you. And this is a nice take on that. This is a guy getting up there and just being like, you guys all fucking suck. And I'm tired of being nice about
it. Gets trampled. Justin Trudeau says Putin is a coward who lacks self-confidence for using police to quash dissent and punish opposition. Note, this is not to be confused with the Justin Trudeau who used the power of the police to quash dissent and punish opposition with the Emergencies Act.
And a fucking horse, and tear gas, and rifle butts, and let's throw in our fucking stormtroopers to bust this up. But no, Trudeau, we're better than them because
Trudeau called Putin a weakling, and he was it was in a press conference where he was talking about opposition Alexei Navalny, who basically was killed, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happens to political opposition in Russia, is that they get murdered. Whereas in Canada, we do it slightly differently, where we just buy off the media and then they just publish whatever we want, which besmirches the opposition to a point where they're unelectable. And that's it's the exact same result, just with more bureaucracy. And if you're going to look at the two and say which is better, I would say cut out the red tape and go full Putin on it.
You have my interest. Canadians can expect the Bank of Canada to start providing some respite this spring as the central bank slowly but surely, that's quoted, moves towards its first interest rate cuts, says Desjardins Group chief economist Jimmy Jean says Desjardins is forecasting the first rate cut in June, but it could easily arrive as soon as April if inflation and the economy slow more than expected. That reduction would put the Bank of Canada's key overnight rate, currently at 5%, at 2.5% by the end of 2025, according to Desjardins' forecast. Twos, we'll get your thoughts on this. We see Landon has entered the studio, and then we'll fly.
Landon's in. We're going to bring him in about 2 seconds, but just real quick. So this is funny. he actually talks about the GDP per capita decreasing right now. So essentially what that means is that all the new people coming to Canada, whether they're being born here, coming here illegally, or asylum seekers, or like that weird, odd handful of people who actually still fill out paperwork when they want to come move here, those people aren't keeping up to the average as far as Canada goes. And as a result, we've got more people here creating less wealth per person. And if this keeps up, we're going to have to cut interest rates, which seems a little bit counterintuitive. Like, if you guys don't start working less, we're going to lower your home payment. I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
We're gonna go back to the start. Okay. We had this nice, neat little plan laid out. Landon sitting in the background, so we're gonna bring him in.
Thanks for joining us, Landon.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on, Landon Johnston, right?
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Sorry, I tried to put you in my headphones, but
no worries. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, cool. Well, Landon, yeah, welcome to the show. Thanks for hopping on. The headline, Gondak petition faces bureaucratic backlash. You've been one of the guys on the ground. Walk us through what's been going
on. It's been awesome the last couple of weeks here. We're almost at 70,000 signatures, and we're kind of just getting started. Like there's a bunch of organizations that I guess had planned on doing this before I even filed the petition. So they had resources and infrastructure and all that put together. And I mean, it was just one night I filed the petition. I was just pissed off about something. I don't remember. I don't even remember what the initial
set you off.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a single-use bylaw that really set me off.
Oh,
but
okay. Yep.
It was, I just like, well, what can I do about it? And I found this petition and I just filed it. Like, I didn't know what would happen. And then, once it hit, once it was certified by the city, then everybody found out about it. And then all these organizations started throwing their resources at me, which was awesome. Because like I said, it was literally just going to be me. No one asked me to do this. Like I was literally just going to go walk around my neighborhood, get signatures, and maybe get like a 5,000 signatures in 8 weeks. But yeah, it's been good so far. We've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers out and about, C-trains, plus 15s, door knocking. And like I said, we're just getting started, right? Like we're just like getting the websites finally got, it's still work in progress, but there's other websites out there that, again, like other organizations have hopped on with this. And they're actually doing a better job than we are with our website as for functionality, but we're, this is all volunteer. Like nobody's getting paid to do this. So we're just ironing out all the details. Yeah.
Sign the website online or sign the petition online, or does it have to be a physical signature?
It has to be physical. That's been the difficult thing. We have to be out there getting signatures, and the whole process has been a learning experience, not just for me, but for the government. And, because this will be the largest petition filed, I think, in Canada, like official petition. I don't know. Nobody, like, it's hard to search that. Like you can't search like number of recalls. You have to go through like old newspapers and stuff. And Google's been weird. Google's been very hard to find historical things. Like it just shows you like half of what you're looking for. I don't know. It's weird. Like looking for old like newspaper articles and stuff has been very hard to do. So I'm just going off of what other people have told me. But it's a big undertaking. And again, like I said, it was just literally going to be me. So, I mean, everything past what I was going to do by myself has just been awesome. And like I said, we're almost at 70,000 signatures, and that's huge, right? If we can get 100,000 maybe by next week, like 200, 300,000 might not be out of reach if we can get out there. Like we're up against the time, right? Like we've only got like 5 weeks left.
Yeah, Landon, if you,
right?
I just want to make sure that we don't skip over anything. How many signatures do you have? When is the deadline? And you mentioned a website. What is the website? Now I've just rattled off 3. Let's just start quick. How many signatures do you have, and when did you start?
We have roughly between 50 and 70,000, and that's just based off of what people have told me. Like they say, oh, we have this many. So I kind of just did a rough estimate of how many petitions were sent out and how many people have recorded to us. But it's not official until it's commissioned by, like, the affidavit by the witness is commissioned by a notary or whatever. So roughly about 50 to 70,000. We're doing like a good count this weekend, like our first like official count. And we have until April 4th is the day I have to hand it in to Elections Calgary. So that, yeah, give us about 5 weeks left.
Mm-hmm. And how many? So this is the what does the actual petition say? We want to remove Gondek as mayor.
Yeah, just it says to recall the mayor of Calgary, Jody Gondek. That's, yeah, it's official petition. So yeah, this was filed by me through Bill 52, the Recall Act in Alberta.
How many signatures do you have to get in order for it to actually happen?
514,000 signatures to officially have her removed.
And how many people voted for Gondek in the last election?
I think it's about 400,000 that voted, not for her, sorry, total votes in the last election. She had 176,000 votes in the last election. So
forgive my laughter, but what you're saying is, if you pace this out, you could actually get more people to sign to get her removed. Not meet the threshold, because, I mean, to meet the threshold, you're going to have to, it's not impossible. You got over a month, is what I heard. And I go, well, more people just need to understand what's going on, and more people need to get their hands involved and everything else. I'm sure there's lots of lovely people doing that. But you could have more people sign this than actually participated in the Calgary election.
Yeah, you have to. So it's, that 540,000 is a little over triple the amount that voted for her in the first place.
Right. It would be, I think, one of the world's largest in-person hand signatured recall petitions ever in the history.
It's what, 40% of Calgary has to sign
40% total population. I think it was a mistake on the bill. Like, I think they didn't mean to put 40% of the total population. I think they meant to put 40% of the electors, like, so who's eligible to vote. I honestly believe it was a mistake, because it doesn't make any sense.
Can children sign it?
No, exactly. Yeah, children are included in it, but they can't sign it. And so it really narrows the pool. I think it's 600,000 people that potentially could sign this in Calgary, which,
you've got to get,
that doesn't leave a lot of room for error for us.
40,000 of them. Yeah. So if there's like, if there's 83 people that think Jody Gondek is doing a good job, you might be behind the 8 ball a little bit. Okay. So here's the other thing is, I've seen a couple of videos. One of them was you. I think it was you at a library. And then the other one was, I think, again, you possibly at the, pedestrian overpass by Chinook Mall. So you've been getting kicked out of places?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's is it ignorance of the law? I guess I just didn't do all my research of what I can't do. I'm just going under the impression I can go anywhere where I perceive as public places, and because that's where the public congregate is, in public places. So that's where I'm going to go. And I'm not necessarily pushing the limits of where I can go, but I think it's important for future petitions to know what the limits are, because if we're going to be hand tied even further to where we can get signatures, then this went from impossible to stupidly absurd, like a waste of taxpayer money to even implement it. Because first off, we have the least favorable mayor of all time in Calgary. We have unlimited resources, because of right now, there's no limits to what we can spend or receive in this recall, right? You have limits when you're doing provincial, like MLAs and stuff like that, but as for municipal, they don't have legislation. So my thing is, if we have unlimited resources, unlimited people, not unlimited, but technically, like, we could put $100 million at this, and like I said, the least favorable mayor, so everything is ripe to get as many possible signatures as we can get. then, and we still can't do it, or let's say we only hit 150,000 or 200,000, but we put everything we had at it. And I don't want to leave any room for anybody to say, oh, well, he didn't do enough, or they didn't do this, they didn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, so if we can bring it to legislation and be like, hey, am I allowed to swear?
Yes. Oh, dude. Yeah. We'll kick you off if you don't.
We bring this to legislation, and there's frustration behind it, because like I hate, like you say, bureaucratic, whatever, but like I hate when the government, and I don't care what government it is, like I just hate when the government imposes something that doesn't make sense, and to rectify that, you have to go to the ends of the earth to get them to rectify it. Like, it's just like, they should have looked at this, you know, maybe even as soon as it was implemented, or even as soon as I filed this, and been like, hey, why the fuck didn't we make this easier? Like, what, like, but of course they're never going to make it easier for them to not be in power. Right. And again, I don't care what government implements. It was actually the NDP and the Liberals who had the best, I think it's dissenting questions. They were never against the Recall Act. They had the questions of like, hey, you know, good for you guys for bringing this because you guys promised it, but it's impossible. Like, I've gone through all the bill readings, and anybody can do that. Like, not everybody cares about this kind of stuff, but like, when you go through it, it's like the select committee that brought this bill to the people who introduced the bill. They were like, hey, yeah, let's do 10, 15, 25% depending on the population, but max it out at like 35% of the people who can actually sign it. You know what I mean? But then out of nowhere, they come out with this 40% of the total population, which is fucking stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Choir, man. You're preaching to the goddamn choir.
So I was just like, well, fuck, someone should do something about this. And so I basically was just like, well, no one else is doing this. And like, you know, if I got to do this by myself, I'll do it by myself. Like, you know, and I always tell people, like, my mom always told me, like, you know, if you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for anything. And I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'll make a stand here. It's, to some people, it's been super petty. And I'm just like, well, I don't care if you think it's petty. Like, this is me actually doing something. Like, stay at home in your house, just accept what the government is slapping to your face. Like, and I don't tell people who I vote for all the time or whatever, but like, I just vote on policy, right? Like, if there's something that's good for me and my family, I'll vote for that, right?
So you're, I mean,
I've got my
supporter then.
Whatever. You know what? I voted for Rachel Notley. I'm conservative, but at the time she had a legislation that made me a lot of money. So why the fuck wouldn't I vote for something that's going to make me and my family a lot of money? And that was, she had a massive rebate for on-demand hot water tanks, right? Like, some people, like a lot of conservatives, will see that as short-sighted, but I care about me and my family, right? That's my number one priority. So whatever is going to get me that, then I'm going to do that. But I'll be honest, since that election, like, things have changed in my mind. So, I mean, I'm not embarrassed. Like, I voted for Trudeau the first time around because he said he was going to do electoral reform, right? Like, that was huge to me, because I, as of right now, like, our votes really don't matter out west. And I don't know if what he promised would have really changed that. But that was important to me at the time. Like, hey, you know, I'm tired of our votes being really not counted. Like, what's the point of even going to vote? And that's a huge sentiment. And he came out with saying, hey, we're going to change this as soon as I get in. And the fucker never did it. So, you know, he's dead to me. Like, he can, you know what I mean? Like, that's, again, I vote on policy, but and now I'm just like, you know what, like, it's too hard to fight. Like, governments makes all these promises, and it's just becoming unbearable. And I mean, you guys were talking about taxes, but I mean, I've met probably about 10,000 people in the last 3 weeks, and every single one of them are talking to me like there's something I can do for them. But I'm not a politician, right? But it's like, they're telling me, like, Landon, we're strapped for cash. Like, all these, like, what they think are little tiny taxes, they just keep fucking piling up and piling up. And just imagine someone like on a fixed income right now, and it's just one thing after another, right? So now, like, this used to be I was standing up for myself, but now I feel like I need to stand up for other people who have a voice but aren't being heard. And so it's just like, fuck me, we might as well just put it all in there.
Well, let's put it this way, Landon. The province is taking notice, right? Like, there's a lot of people that are paying attention. You're doing more than just like something small, right? You've gotten 50+ thousand signatures. I mean, there's people in government that it's their job,
Canada, man,
who put out bills and different things, and they can't get 50. You got 50,000 already.
Mark Garrettson literally presented a petition in the House of Commons in Ottawa a few weeks ago that had literally 30 signatures on it.
30 signatures.
And then he got mad because everybody was mocking him.
Correct.
Right.
So can we slide into, just for a few more minutes before we let you hop out, Landon, can we slide into the second part of this, which, I mean, I don't know if you want to sit and chat with us about or not, but it's the city of Calgary wants to have a party. And what we're talking about is brand new city politicians, political parties, like on the coast with the ABC Vancouver. We're talking for well-financed, well-organized parties in Calgary, a common sense platform and candidate for mayor and a candidate for each of the wards. So a party could win a city council majority. I don't know the full story of this. 2's and Landon, feel free to talk about it. I don't know. Is this a good idea? Is this a terrible idea?
Okay, maybe I could just take over here real quick for a second. My understanding of this, I don't live in Calgary anymore. I moved out a couple years ago and just couldn't wait to kick the dust off my boots, man. But Gondek really pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. She came in as just saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be that normal. Everything's going to be fine. And then the day she got in, she's like, surprise, cockfags, $78 billion climate emergency. Oh, we're going to do this. We're gonna fuck up the new Saddle Dome negotiation because of solar panels. We're gonna add a whole bunch more bike lanes because Nenshi didn't add enough bike lanes. And Nenshi is a guy who literally ran on being fiscally conservative. And then when he got in, he was surprised, cuckfags, and went off and did all of the Nenshi things. And now he's probably going to run for the NDP. So that tells you how fiscally conservative the guy is. And so I think people, especially in Calgary, who have memory of that or who were living in Calgary during these incredibly dark days, which are still continuing, have this perspective of, you know, if you could have a party brand in front of it, you would have a little bit of knowledge about what you could expect from that person when they get voted in, rather than them just saying whatever is going to get them the votes and then turning around the next day and fucking everybody over.
I mean, has it worked in Vancouver? Has it? Like,
I don't know. That's a really good question, actually.
Like, I don't know. To me, I'm wondering if this is a good idea or a very poor idea.
It's got
I would say, I mean, is that a big decision? Like, I mean, right now I'm just focused on getting her out of there. And you know, we voted in the UCP, so like the UCP has the ability to implement a lot of this stuff, and you know, maybe they lose the next election and then the next guys take it out of there. So I mean, people always argue, but I mean, that's democracy, really. So I mean, they've done plebiscites for smaller things like fluoride and stuff. So I mean, they could leave it to the people to decide whether they want party names in front of municipal elections. Like, that wouldn't be that hard to do. You know, even if we had a by-election for it, I'll tell you right now, my original target was my counselor, Peter DeMong. But I decided to go for the head of the snake. So I was like, you know what, the mayor is lacking leadership and whatever. So I was like, you know what, let's go after the big cheese. But like, if we do get a by-election, like, that's something you could throw on it as like a second voting option. Be like, do City of Calgary residents want politics branded on the candidate's name? Like, I don't know, like, is that something people want? I don't know, but I mean, I've been asking people like what they're upset about the city with right now. So like, I've been keeping track. I've got about 6 pages of shit that people are upset with the city.
What are the most common ones?
Well, I can't even say what the top 3 are, but you know,
you can say literally anything and everything on this show.
I know, but you know what? Like, I'm trying to.
Okay,
if you guys had this conversation with me on a golf course, it would be a different story. But for the past 3 weeks, I've been very calm until I guess this conversation. But yeah, it's just people are upset. Like, people are frustrated. People, I've even at some point defended the mayor because of somebody or a couple people being super vulgar. Not defending her, but just being like, you know what, that's I don't know. I was just raised not to talk to people like that, right? Sure. So like I find myself defending her against like super vulgar attacks, because that's not what this is about. This is about her policies and her inability to lead the city where it's got to go. It's nothing to do personally, but.
Where before we let you out of here, where you'd mentioned a website, I assume that's the best place for people to go, or is there somewhere else? Would you could you say the website, or where if people want to help find out more about this, sign the petition, where can they go?
Yeah, so huge. The website is recallmayorgondek.com. And I believe there's another one. I think it's called like Recall Gondek YYC. So that's the other organization, but they're, like I said, their website's maybe a little bit more functional, but either of them work really well. And then Twitter has been huge for us, getting the word out of new locations where people can sign, commissioner drop-offs, little gatherings we're doing down at City Hall. So that is Recall Gondek YYC, and that's on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah,
there are quite a few businesses and stuff.
I'm throwing it in the comments right now for everybody. So if anyone wants to go take a look, there's the website is in there. So if people want to click on it on the live stream, it's sitting there. Appreciate you hopping on and doing this and giving us, like we've been hearing this story. Me and Tuz have been talking about it. So to hear it firsthand from you, appreciate you hopping on this side and giving everybody a little bit of a down low on what's been going on and what you've been seeing and hearing.
Sorry, could I say one more thing really quick?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm running into a lot of people, like surprisingly a lot of people that are like, I hate the mayor, I hate what she's doing, but I don't want to sign it. And I'm having trouble understanding that, because like they think that it's not going to make a difference, but I think it will. Like I'm just like, if people are out there, they're kind of on the fence on whether to sign this or not. Like it's small, but it's a small thing to put a signature on it, but it's a big thing in the long run, right? Like we're proving a point where we're setting up for the next people that want to file a petition. We might be able to change the regulations. So, even if you're it's just weird, like the city of Calgary employees are like, oh no, there'll be retribution and stuff, like, it takes a little bit of bravery to do something like that, but I didn't think it did. But I'm starting to understand, like, people are afraid to sign it, but nobody's going to see your signature. All the data is supposed to be destroyed as soon as it's handed in. So I'm not keeping anything on my end. So if people are on the fence on wanting to sign it, like, your voice will be heard. It's just, you got to step out and put yourself out there, even just for a signature, right? So I don't know if there's somebody out there who knows somebody who's afraid to sign it, like just go over the reasons why, like, this mayor's lacked what she needs to do in the city. Like the policies that she's enacted are just insane, and it's not helping us, right? Like, so everyone's affected by her policies, whether you agree with her or not. So I just want to let people know, like, sign it. If you want to sign it, but you're scared to, like, sign it. Or if you don't like her, but you don't want to sign it, fuck, just sign it anyways. Like, nothing's going to happen other than maybe we can get some change going. So,
well, I mean, think about it this way. Like, even if it only gets 200,000 signatures, that's still substantially more than what voted her in the first place. Do you think, like, even though it doesn't meet that legal threshold, I can't possibly see her sticking around after more people sign the recall than actually
I can see her sticking around.
People keep saying that. People keep saying that she might stick around, like she won't resign, but that just like our second campaign is like, if we can hit 200, 250, 300,000 signatures, we're going to pressure her to resign. There's people on council that can put it to a vote, be like, hey, let's, like, 300,000 people do not want her in this position. Like, she's got to go. So like there's other stuff we can do outside of this petition, right? Like I'm begging people to send letters to your councillor, to your MLA, to the premier, to Rick McIver, like the municipal, whatever he's supposed to be doing. But I mean, I've been trying to get a hold of him for 3 weeks now, and he hasn't gotten back to me, because he's the one who helped implement this bill. I think he was, anyway. But just, like, keep putting pressure on the government. Like don't think your voice isn't going to be enough, because you know, if we're all just yelling by ourselves, like nothing's gonna happen. But if we all yell at the same time, like they're gonna fucking hear us, and shit's gonna change, man. Like you're right. I think I've been getting calls from all over the country, all over the states, like calling me, being like, "Hey, Landon, like we're watching this. Like there's like I got a call from California, Florida, these people who also have recall legislation, but they think it won't do anything. So like the fact that our threshold is so high, people are wondering, like, can enough people get together in such a short amount of time to actually make a difference? And I mean, maybe we only get 100,000, right? Like, you know,
that's still more than half of what voted for her.
And in
Right.
fairness, you're sending a message. This isn't 10 people. This isn't 30 people.
It's about sending a message.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. I appreciate that.
Okay, all right.
Thanks,
Gregory
Landon.
Langston just popped in on the chat. He said you can come to my shop to sign Unit 330 at 19369 Sheriff King Street Southwest.
See, those are brave people putting themselves out there, man. Like that's not easy to do. And that's awesome. Like there's like I've gone to a bunch of businesses and they're like, no, we don't want retribution from the city. And I don't know how they would do that. And if they did, you could sue the absolute fuck out of them if they tried to discriminate you based on your politics. So don't be afraid of the city.
I would say this. The last 4 years have taught us a lot about retribution and how the city and government operates. So while I agree with you, we can all agree, I think, the last 4 years has taught us otherwise. So there is hesitation. I understand people's hesitation, but we got to get past the hesitation, because if we don't, the same thing continues over and over again.
If you don't, you're going to find yourself pushing a scooter down the street and a horse tramples you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Landon, for coming on. That shouldn't be that funny, but welcome to Canada. Landon, thanks for hopping on. Yep. Okay, there you go. Landon Johnston coming in and raining fire down. In the show notes, not in the show notes, in the chat, there is the ability to go to the website. You can find out all the information there. We got a guy saying, "Hey, stop by this spot," and this is where you can go. There you go, Landon. That was that's interesting. How quickly things just spark fire and away it goes, isn't it, Tiz?
Yeah. And it's funny, like I'm usually the guy who's like, well, what's the point of a petition, generally speaking? Because if you're just presenting a petition that has no teeth behind it, but this, even though it's been totally neutered by the UCP, and I don't care how much you love the UCP, you have to look at this body of legislation and say it was an absolute disaster. But go back to the numbers.
40% of the population and the eligible voters is, what did you say, 600 and some thousand? Like, and you got to get 500. It's just like they've got to get
90% of the electorate to sign this recall legislation to meet the legal threshold.
But I do agree with you and Landon that it's all about sending a message. And I tell you what, it's pretty crazy how many people have, not that crazy. I mean, it just shows the body of work that she's had to this point. Okay, we could sit on this for the next 2 hours.
But you got a flight to catch.
I'm trying to get out of Dodge. Okay.
All right.
So let's carry on, folks. Poilievre is on the poll and wants to strip Canada. Saturday will herald 2 full years since Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And 38% of Canada said should maintain the same level of spending.
While 31 this is a recent poll that just came out.
Correct. 31% said the government should spend less. Only 16% said they wanted spending levels increased. So that means like 84% said they didn't want. Anyway, it doesn't matter. To date, Canada's committed more than $9 billion in overall aid to Ukraine. And then this is what Pierre Poilievre tweeted out: "It's been 2 years since Ukraine woke up to the evil of an unprovoked full-scale invasion from Vladimir Putin." Disagree with that. "With unshakable resolve and determination, Ukraine people have fought back. They've given up, and neither will we. Canada will always stand with Ukraine in the fight for freedom and democracy against Putin's tyranny."
He's just going the way of the wind. This is the same thing O'Toole did in the last election, where they just said, okay, well, let's throw out a poll, and whatever the poll says, that's going to be our official stance. You saw it. We talked about it last week, where Poilievre sat on his hands and pushed back on questions and didn't answer them until that poll came out saying that the majority of people actually believed, 2/3 of people supported what Danielle Smith was doing in Alberta with the normalization to a limited degree of trans legislation. And he said, okay, well, yeah, now that the polls are out, I'm also going to support this. And then this is him doing the exact same thing with Ukraine. And, if you think that Poilievre is your guy, awesome. If you think that the most important thing is to get rid of Trudeau, sure. But you have to realize that if he is just going to cater to the population majorities in and around Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and as a result end up being very little difference between him and Trudeau, what's the point of getting Trudeau if you're going to replace him with a guy exactly the same? And now that they've got the same haircut, there's less and less daylight between them all the time. So here's the thing: is even if you just think that Poilievre is the answer one way or the other, you gotta push back on this fair weather bullshit policy making.
Conservatives push for idiotic policies again. When asked whether his government will require porn websites to verify the age of users, Poilievre gave a one-word answer: yes. The Tories are sponsoring and supporting a Senate private members bill that promises to require age verification for people to access pornography online. I don't think that's a ridiculous thing, by the way. But something in the article did stick out to me. Options could include the use of digital government ID, as some U.S. states have legislated, or services that can estimate age based on a scan of the person's face.
Oh, yeah, because that'll be good. You just have a really low quality webcam, and then you just hold up a picture of William Shatner. Like, this is the problem is I'm not really going to dispute whether you think anything's right or wrong. The point is that this is going to be stupid and unenforceable and a bureaucratic waste of time. It's the kind of shit you would expect from the NDP in that sense. And so, I mean, here's the thing: like, there are other ways to get pornography than going to a website. Believe it or not, you could download it. And then after it's been downloaded, it's not like Windows Media Player or VLC is going to ask you for your ID before you play a video. Yeah, believe it or not, there used to be magazines. I don't know, maybe there still are. The point is that...
Are you trying to compare Pornhub to magazines?
I'm trying to say that there's so many avenues to access this that trying to put a pointless... This is like, oh, if we just implement more gun control, the criminals are going to stop using guns. And how's that worked for everybody so far?
No, but limiting access to porn is different than gun control. Come on. The
point is that you're dealing with kids who grow up with computers way more than we ever did, Sean. They're going to come up with a workaround around this within about a day. And in the meantime, we'll put all this time and energy and effort into enacting this. What's going on?
Is Vance Crowe just hopping in the show?
Vance is jumping on the live